Welcome to Ancient Echoes, the channel where history comes alive. Every week we journey back in time to uncover the stories of civilizations, heroes, and legends that shaped our world. Let's step into the past and discover the echoes that still resonate today. In the previous episode, we explored how the Xia Dynasty took shape as the first hereditary dynasty in Chinese history. Power was no longer passed to the most capable, but inherited through bloodlines. With this change came stability, structure, and a new kind of political order. In this episode, we turn our attention to the height of the Xia Dynasty, a long period often described in ancient records as an age of relative stability. It was a time when agriculture flourished, cities expanded, rituals were formalized, and the foundations of early Chinese statehood were laid. Although much of the Xia Dynasty remains shrouded in mystery, this era represents a crucial stage in the transition from tribal societies to an organized civilization. By the time the Xia Dynasty had firmly established itself, flood control was no longer the central concern of daily life. With rivers managed and farmlands protected, communities were able to settle permanently. Agriculture became the backbone of society. Farmers cultivated millet and early forms of rice, storing surplus grain for difficult seasons. This surplus supported population growth and allowed some members of society to focus on tasks beyond food production. Artisans, ritual specialists, and administrators began to emerge as distinct social roles. Villages grew into towns, and towns gradually developed into early cities. These settlements were often built near rivers, not only for irrigation, but also for transportation and communication. Dirt roads connected communities, and simple walls or embankments offered protection. At the center of these growing cities stood the ruler's compound, a symbol of authority and order. Though far from the grand palaces of later dynasties, these early structures represented centralized power. They were places where decisions were made, ceremonies were held, and justice was administered. The Xia rulers governed through a combination of force, tradition, and ritual. Military power ensured obedience, but ritual legitimacy gave authority meaning. The ruler was not only a political leader, but also a mediator between heaven, earth, and the people. Rituals played an essential role in Xia society. Sacrifices were offered to ancestors, nature spirits, and celestial forces. These ceremonies were believed to maintain harmony between the human world and the cosmos. The idea that rulers derived their authority from higher powers was already taking shape. Natural disasters, poor harvests, or social unrest were often interpreted as signs of imbalance or moral failure at the top. Leadership was not only about control, but about maintaining cosmic order. Bronze technology began to appear during this period, marking a major technological leap. Bronze tools were stronger and more durable than stone, improving agriculture and craftsmanship. Bronze weapons also enhanced military power, reinforcing the authority of the ruling elite. Craft production became increasingly specialized. Artisans created tools, weapons, ritual vessels, and ornaments. These objects were not merely practical, they carried symbolic meaning and reflected social hierarchy. Ownership of bronze items often indicated status and power. As society became more complex, social divisions deepened. At the top stood the ruling family and aristocracy. Beneath them were officials, warriors, artisans, and farmers. At the bottom were laborers and possibly early forms of servitude. This hierarchy was not rigidly codified, but it shaped daily life. Loyalty to the ruler and obedience to authority were reinforced through custom, ritual, and tradition rather than written law. Despite its apparent stability, the Xia dynasty was not without internal tensions. As generations passed, the moral authority of rulers varied. Some kings governed wisely, respecting traditions and caring for their people. Others ruled harshly, prioritizing luxury and personal power. Ancient records suggest that as the dynasty matured, corruption and excess began to appear among the ruling class. Heavy labor demands, tributes, and taxes placed increasing burdens on the population. While common people endured hardship, elites enjoyed growing wealth. Local leaders and nobles gained influence, sometimes challenging central authority. The balance between unity and fragmentation became increasingly fragile. Yet for many decades, the system endured. Rituals continued. Agriculture sustained communities. The idea of a unified realm under a hereditary ruler became deeply embedded in cultural memory. Perhaps the greatest legacy of this period was not a specific king or achievement, but a model of governance. The Xia dynasty established patterns that later dynasties would refine. Centralized authority, ritual legitimacy, hereditary rule, and social hierarchy. Even though archaeological evidence remains limited, these patterns are echoed in later, better documented eras. The Xia dynasty became a reference point, a symbol of origins rather than detailed history. In later centuries, Chinese historians looked back on the Xia as a formative age. It represented both ideal order and a cautionary tale. Stability, they believed, depended on moral leadership. When rulers upheld virtue, society prospered. When they abandoned it, decline followed. This belief would become a core principle of Chinese political philosophy. As we approach the later years of the Xia dynasty, the tension between order and decay becomes more apparent. Stability alone was not enough to ensure survival. Without moral restraint, power could turn inward and destructive. In the next episode, we will examine how the Xia dynasty began to unravel. We will explore the reign of its final ruler, a king remembered not for wisdom, but for tyranny, and how his actions paved the way for rebellion and the rise of a new dynasty. History does not end with stability, it tests it. And in that test, the Xia dynasty would ultimately fail.